I am so excited to record this episode because we are going to be talking about your products, your services, and your offers. And this is the foundation of any business. Whether you're a product-based or service-based founder, this episode is going to help you build something that actually sells, creates real impact, and sustains you and your business. Learn from my lessons, as well as the strategies and tactics I've used to help hundreds of founders create profitable and sustainable products that people actually want and need. Trust me, I have learned the hard way what happens when you aren't strategic with your products. You end up having to basically beg people to buy it, which is not fun. And then, of course, you're not making the sales and the profits that you deserve. I'm going to be sharing my story in this episode, as well as my strategies and tactics that have helped hundreds of founders successfully build products that sell. Let's start with some real talk. Your entire business is built on what you're selling. That's why this episode is so important. This is such a crucial first step and foundational piece that I think a lot of founders don't like spending a lot of time on or feel like they shouldn't, and that is such a rookie mistake. Your entire business, I repeat, your entire business is based on what you are selling. Because if you can't sell, if you can't make money, then you don't have a business. And so that's why you can't just slap something together, pray it works, and just hope people buy something. That's not how you build a viable long-term business. We need to be intentional, strategic, and thoughtful about this. And the benefit of doing this and putting in this work up front is that your sales will become so much easier because you have a product that people actually want to buy. Also, marketing it, talking about it, working on it is just going to feel so much more seamless. So that is why, like I keep saying, this is such an important and crucial first step. Okay, so how do you build a product that people actually want, will buy, and will be profitable? The first step is to make sure you're solving a problem, a pain point, or a challenge for your ideal customer. The reason why this is important is because I likely don't have to tell you, but there's so many products, services, and other businesses out there nowadays. And if you want to differentiate yourself and be unique and be a business that people go to for a specific reason, then you need to figure out how you can add value to people's lives by solving a problem, a pain point, or a challenge. Long gone are the days that you can just make products or put out services for the sake of it, trying to make a quick buck. If you want to build a sustainable, long-lasting business, you do need to be intentional and so strategic with your products. I likely don't have to tell you this. There's a lot of businesses out there nowadays. There's so many different products, there's so many different services, and I don't want that to discourage you. Instead, I want you to use that as motivation and fuel to really understand how you can differentiate yourself and stand out. Because there's so many notebook brands, there's so many stationery brands, there's so many matcha brands, there's so many tech companies, there's so many of them. And that's why you need to figure out how you're going to be unique and stand out. The way you do that is by solving a pain point, a problem, or a challenge for your ideal customer. There are so many different products and services and companies out there nowadays, but I don't want that to discourage you. And in order to just shine a light on how there's still opportunity and still room for you, I'm going to give you a few examples. In the gimbal or tech space, there are so many different companies. Recently, I just bought a gimbal, and I'm not going to name names because this isn't a sponsored episode, but the reason why I bought it is because I think they literally took every single pain point or challenge a content creator would have, and they put it into this gimbal. The reason why I bought this gimbal, this particular one, out of the thousands of different gimbals there are out there nowadays, is because, first of all, it allows me to film both horizontally and vertically, so I can film for YouTube and for Reels and TikTok. And it's really easy. I can just press a button and then my phone will swivel. Another reason why I bought it is because there's also face tracking on it. There's an app connected with this gimbal where I can use my back camera, which is the higher quality camera, and I don't need someone to look at the camera to make sure I'm in frame. It'll just automatically follow me, which is so cool. There's also a little tiny mirror on the back of this gimbal, so I can also see if I'm in frame as well. You can also charge your phone on this gimbal too, because likely content creators' phones die all the time. So there's a phone charger. And then on the bottom of it, you can extend the leg so it can turn into a tripod. There's so many different features, and I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about it. But just goes to show you that, again, there's so many different gimbals out there. Trust me, I did my research, but I spent money to buy this higher quality one because of all the different features they thought of. And you can tell they really intimately know what content creators need. That's why I bought this gimbal. So just an example, if you really know who your ideal customer is and what they need and what they're looking for and what they want, your product can still stand out in a saturated market. You just need to do the legwork to ensure that you understand what you're making and what the values and benefits are going to be. I also wanted to give an example for service providers. So I am in my wedding planning era right now, and it's really stressful trying to find vendors. For me specifically, I'm really picky about photographers and videographers because I do content creation. I really like capturing memories, and this is such a special day for me and my partner. And so when it comes to videographers, I feel like there's so many options out there and everyone kind of offers the same thing. They put together like a little trailer video for you. It's not to say me and my partner don't like that, but sometimes we feel like that can come across as a highlight reel. And yes, we would still like our highlight reel, but we also want the raw BTS and all that stuff. This videographer I found, they give you the wedding trailer, but they also do a documentary style docuseries for you after. And they also have add-on packages for them to film, which is really cool. And so that's why we decided to go with them, because they had different offerings, not just the standard ones, and it would fit our needs. Just an example that even in really competitive and saturated industries, you can still stand out and there's still room for you if you are creative and you spend the time to do the market research and really understand what your ideal customer wants. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in 1 second, but if you're wondering how to apply this to your own products and services, I created something to help you do just that. Inside my Sustain Your Products course, I walk you through the step-by-step of how to create products and offers that people actually want, actually need, and will actually buy. This will help you grow a profitable and sustainable business. It's not just theory. I share the proven strategies I've used to sustainably grow my own business, but also help hundreds of other founders do the exact same thing. It is so important to nail your products because that is the backbone and the basis of your entire business. That's why I put together Sustain Your Products, and you can find out more information down below. But not only that, I also have a whole suite of other courses on how to do sustainable sales, sustainable marketing, and sustainable launches, and it is all under my Sustain Your Success ecosystem. So if you want help on not just your products, but all aspects of your business, because let's be real, it all works together and it all needs to work together for you to sustainably grow, then you can check out my entire Sustain Your Success ecosystem using the link down below or visit selenaho.com/sys. These are the exact proven strategies, sustainable tactics, and plug and play resources that I wish I had when I was first starting out. And it's taking me over half a decade to curate these, learn from my own trial and errors. So save yourself all the time, money, and heartache that I had to go through, and you can fast track your success with the Sustain Your Product course or the entire Sustain Your Success ecosystem. Again, you can click the links down below, and I'm so excited to potentially support you. Now let's get back to the episode. Speaking of market research, I'm now going to break down how you can exactly do this so that you can be so intentional and strategic about your product and move forward, feeling confident that you've nailed it and you know people actually want this, they need it, and they will buy it. There's 2 types of market research you want to be doing. The first one is going to be primary research. That is research you are getting directly from your ideal customer. The second one is going to be called secondary research, where you look at the market, you look at competitors, and you see what's missing. Both are really important, and you should do both. With primary research, there are 2 vehicles or 2 tools you can use to get this research and get this data from your customers. The first way is through a survey or a questionnaire. This is helpful because you can ask a series of questions and send it around so that you can get enough volume of data so that you can make statistically sound decisions. I always get my clients and companies I work with to do a survey. The tip here is to make sure you know exactly what you're trying to get. And typically for my clients, I get them to gather demographic information so they get to know their ideal customer better, such as how old they are, their education level, their salary, all that stuff, as well as psychographic information. What are their values? What are they struggling with in life generally? Where are they at? That's all really helpful data so that you can later on use it for marketing, for what type of products they would resonate with. It's just really, really helpful. Of course, you want to do a deep dive on their pain points and challenges in regards to your specific category. So you want to know what they're dealing with on a life basis, but also with your specific category. As an example, I worked with so many sustainable fashion brands, and I would always get my clients to send out a survey. One of my clients wanted to target new moms. In her survey, she was asking a lot of different demographic, psychographic, and also pain point questions for her fashion brand. Some of the psychographic examples would be like, hey, what are you struggling with as a new mom right now? Do you feel supported as a new mom? Just getting that general life data. In regards to her category, it was more specific. What is missing from your wardrobe as a new mom right now? What clothes you wish you had but just doesn't exist? What functionality do you need your clothes to have? All of that stuff. And you can make this really specific. In regards to actually putting together the survey, couple tips here. I always recommend putting the psychographic questions up front. These are kind of the fun questions like, what do you value? What do you do in your spare time? What are your hobbies? What social media platforms you're on? These are easy breezy kind of questions. And then I recommend putting the pain point questions after that. And then I would put the demographic questions at the end, because sometimes people are a little bit iffy about sharing their age or their salary and some of those personal details. But I find that sunk cost bias or sunk cost fallacy plays into account here, where people will be like, oh, I already finished pretty much all of the survey, so you know what, I'll just put it in. And you can also try to bribe people to do your survey, so you can offer some sort of incentive or discount or draw to a gift basket so that you can get those responses. I know that people don't like taking surveys. Just this allergic reaction everyone seems to have, and it's a shared allergic reaction. So really playing up the, hey, I'm a startup, I'm trying to be a conscious brand, I'm a conscious founder, I'm trying to do this thing. You taking 5 to 10 minutes out of your day to do this would be so helpful. Just saying that as well can really help you get more survey responses and better quality ones. Making sure that your ideal customer is the one filling out the survey. We don't want your friends and family members to fill it out unless they're your ideal customer. For this to actually be helpful for you, you want to make sure it's the right people filling it out. So just making sure that that's taken care of. Those are just a few tips for your survey there. After your survey, another form of primary market research you can do is an interview. I do recommend you do some interviews as well. And what I get my clients to do is once they send out the survey, they get at least 100 responses. Go through all the responses and pick out 5 to 10 people that filled in your survey who are your ideal customer and had interesting answers that you want to probe deeper on. Maybe they talked about specific pain points that you're like, wow, I never thought about that. That sounds like something I could solve. And I actually want to jump on a call with them to see how we can make this happen and go deeper. That could be someone that you email them and be like, hey, thanks so much for taking my survey. Your response was super helpful. I actually am creating a product or a service or whatever it is to solve the pain point you're talking about. Can we chat? Because I want to make this happen for you and I want to bring this to life. Even something like that. And then you do want to try to compensate your interviewees because typically they're taking anywhere between half an hour to an hour out of their day to sit down and talk with you. I would give them a gift card or something like that to compensate them and thank them for their time. That's how you do your primary research. For secondary research, I would just stalk on the internet companies that would be your quote unquote competitors and compete with you for a slice of your ideal customer's wallet. To help you visualize this, I'm going to walk you through an example. Let's pretend we're starting a matcha powder brand. The first thing is to get really clear on who our ideal customer is. I would do the primary research first, the survey, the interviews. From that, I should get a good amount of demographic and psychographic information on my ideal customer. And I can then go and look at brands that she may be utilizing. Pro tip is in your survey, you can point blank ask them, like, what brands are you purchasing right now? What brands would you purchase? And then those are brands you can then look at and be like, okay, I think these are my competitors. And then you can look at brands similarly to that to give you a jumping off point. But you should have an idea. So anyways, we're starting a matcha powder brand. I would, of course, look at other matcha powders that would be around the price range that we are looking to sell at. You can, of course, look at brands that are above your price range and also below to get a clear sense of the market. You may want to look at popular coffee shops or popular matcha places that make matcha and sell matcha to go. If your ideal customer enjoys drinking matcha, then she's either making it at home or she's going out and buying it. And in both instances, both those types of companies and brands are going to be competing for your ideal customer's wallet. It is important to understand the lay of the landscape, see what's going on, be able to tackle the white space that maybe hasn't been thought of or hasn't been done yet. Doing this market research does take time. Typically, my clients take anywhere between a month to 2 months to really ensure they're getting enough survey responses and they are doing enough interviews. With my clients, I give them questions, I handhold them through the process and support them. If you're doing this on your own, you can absolutely do that, but just know that it may take longer and you should spend the time. I cannot emphasize this enough. This is such an important first step. You don't want to just guess about what people want and then just pray people will buy it, like I keep talking about. That is not how you build a viable long-term business. You need to have the data to back it up and also reassure you that this is worth spending your money, your time, and your resources into creating. That's so important to ensure you're not wasting things. That brings me to my next point, which is why this whole market research and just validation process in general is so important for both product-based businesses and also service-based businesses. If you're starting a physical product business, whether you're selling notebooks or matcha or clothing or makeup or whatever it is, I likely don't have to tell you how important validating is, because once you validate, you feel better sinking typically your life savings or capital or whatever it is into making these products and buying inventory. On the flip side, for a service-based business, you might be like, I could just test it because I'm just selling consulting services, or I'm just selling advising, or I'm selling this ebook, and it's not going to cost me money. I just have to spend my time. So I am now going to share my personal story about what happened when I didn't validate my product and I thought I knew everything and I thought I was this big hotshot, and turns out I wasn't. And it was such a waste of my time, energy, and my resources. So when you're starting a service-based business, whether you're a massage therapist or a physiotherapist or a business consultant or whatever it is, you're just trading your time for it. You're not going out and needing to spend money to make your product because you are the product or your brain is the product. You might think, okay, no harm, no foul. I can just test things out, see how it goes. But I really caution you to still be so intentional and strategic, because you're still spending time and you're still spending resources. And if you think about the opportunity cost, like a finite amounts of time and resources, you could put that towards something else. So there is a cost here. There's a huge opportunity cost, and that's why you still need to be strategic. Story time. When I first started my sustainable fashion consultancy, I was working with a lot of clients one-on-one. I was working with a lot of startup brands back then. So I would help them go from idea all the way to launch. And I loved doing it. But after a year of doing it, I noticed that a lot of my clients were having the same questions and I was having the same responses. I was spending a lot of time getting everyone kind of to the same page. I realized I could save time for me and my clients and be more efficient during our actual client sessions if I created a course for them. I would have all the strategies and tactics and tools and everything like that in the course, and I would just get them to go through it. Then during our sessions, we could customize it to their brand. I could answer any additional questions, and we would just have a lot richer discussions versus me teaching, explaining live during all of our sessions. Theoretically, that was such a good idea, but I, again, thought I was such a hot shot and I knew better than everyone else. And I was like, well, I've already been working with these people for a year. I know what they want. I know what they need. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. That was my mistake. I should have still done some market research, and I was in such a great position where I had a bunch of clients I was working with, and I could just take like an extra 10 to 15 minutes at the end of our client session and just ask them questions. It was just such low-hanging fruit, but I just didn't do it for some reason. I completely regret that, because what happened, as you can likely tell, is I decided to make all these different mini courses. So one on finance, one on funding, one on product development, one on marketing, one on sales, one on launching. I made all of these little mini courses and I was like, okay, great. So now I'm going to sell these. And for some reason, I also decided to start with selling the finance one. That was also just not the move, because people that want to start a fashion brand, they're typically creative, they're typically artsy, and so the last thing they want to think about is finance. It's such a hard sell to them. Obviously, they need to know their profitability, their forecasting, all this stuff. They need to know all of that to have a successful brand. It was just such a hard sell. That being the first one I decided to sell, it was just mistake after mistake, essentially. I spent almost 6 months like putting all this curriculum together, working on it. When I launched it, there were crickets. No one was buying it, and I was devastated because I spent so much time and energy on this, and I was like, holy shit, I don't know if I have it in me to make another course because this one flopped so hard. I technically didn't spend any money on it per se, but I did spend 6 months of my life making this thing that no one wanted, and so I could have spent that 6 months doing so many other things. So let this be a cautionary tale that even if you have a service-based business, you should absolutely still do market research so you don't end up like me. What happened was I rested because I was just so burnt out and so overwhelmed and just like spiraling, as you can likely imagine. From there, I decided to kick my ego back in check, humble myself, and do the market research that I always told my clients to do. But for some reason, I thought I was above it. I did that. And then from there, I realized, okay, the curriculum's not all lost. This is still helpful, but I just need to group it together. I don't know why I decided to do all those different mini courses, but people really wanted that zero to launch complete transformation. They were willing to pay for it. So I just grouped it all together, called it the Launch Your Brand course. And to date, I still sell it. It's my signature course and it has helped a lot of different people. If I had just done that market research from the beginning, I could have saved 6 months and I could have just saved a lot of agony of that flop launch. But you live and you learn, and that's why we're doing this episode. You can live and learn from my mistakes without having to go through it. So the first step in all of this is to validate, make sure that people actually want it and need it, and ensure that you're solving a problem and a pain point. The next step is to make sure it's actually viable. Essentially, what that means is to make sure you can actually bring it to life. Let's say you're at the point now where you primary research and the secondary research, and you feel like you're onto something because you have an idea in your head that does not exist, and you want to bring it to life, and your ideal customers are begging you to bring it to life too. Well, before you go forward, you do need to pause and make sure it's viable. So what I mean by that is it's actually something you can bring to life. Is it actually physically possible to do this? All the way to, is it actually financially possible as well? The reason why this is an important intermediary step is because sometimes, unfortunately, there is a reason why a product or a service does not exist. It's either because it's physically just not possible right now to create this, given the current technology, the current limits, all this stuff. Also, it might be just because it's just not financially viable, because it's going to cost way too much money and people's willingness to pay for this product just doesn't make sense based on how much it's going to cost you to do it. But it is important to pause and again, assess if it's viable. As an example, one of my clients once wanted to start a sustainable technical activewear brand. And when I say technical, I mean technical. You're not wearing this activewear to go to yoga or Pilates. They wanted their products to be worn when people were running or doing HIIT workouts or maybe even skiing or snowboarding. They wanted it to be technical but also sustainable. One of the things they were trying to tackle were the materials, because nowadays a lot of technical sportswear is made out of plastic. It's heavy on the polyester, it's heavy on the Gore-Tex, all that stuff. While, yes, there can be better versions of plastic, like recycled plastic and non-virgin plastic, they still wanted to try to avoid polyester and avoid plastics. At the end of the day, after doing all the research, the technology just isn't there. The materials that they wanted to use for this just does not exist. It was a difficult pill for them to swallow, but once they acknowledged that, they pivoted and they changed course. It's important once you have an idea to check it, see if it's actually viable, even physically possible, before you spend a lot of time, resources, and energy down this route. As another example, one of my clients also wanted to start a very high-touch in-person retreat. This was going to be super luxurious. It was going to be at a really nice resort. People were going to be getting gifts. There would be a lot of time and energy and effort from her. We roughly calculated how much this was going to cost her to pull off, and then we compared that against the market research she did. So the surveys and the interview, asking her ideal customer how much they were willing to pay for an experience like this. While her ideal customer was someone with disposable income and can afford something like this, the cost of pulling something like this off compared to what people were willing to pay allowed her to realize that she wouldn't be making a lot of money, if not any money. That allowed her to realize this version of what I want to do is just not financially viable right now. Maybe in the future, as I grow my business and brand, we can get brands to partner with us and get sponsored for some things, and that can work. But as of right now, it just wasn't feasible for her. So she had to scale it back and try different things. Just to show you that you can have a perfect idea, you can validate it, do all this stuff, but then you have to do the song and dance of making sure that it's actually physically viable. You can actually pull this off given our current materials, technology, all this stuff, as well as making it financially viable. Because at the end of the day, this is a business. You need to be able to cover your costs and pay yourself and pay other people as well. You want to be strategic here and co-create and edit with your ideal customer. See what you could take out or what you could add on to make it both physically and financially viable for you. Now that you're solving a problem, a pain point with your product, and you also have ensured that it's viable, the next step is to test the demand. At every single point, I hope you recognize we are testing. We're not assuming anything. We are actually putting things to the test. The first step, again, is to ask your ideal customer what they want and figure out something that they're struggling with and solve that problem. The next step is to test to see if you can actually make it come to life, make it possible, and also test it's going to make sense for you profit-wise too. This next and final step is to test the demand. I find sometimes in a survey and in an interview setting, your ideal customer, because you're just sitting there, will be like, yes, I will support you. I will buy this thing. Yes, yes, yes. But sometimes it's actually a different matter to ask people to actually put down their credit card and put their money where their mouth is. That's why it's important to test demand for another time. The way you can do that is through pre-sales or a waitlist. For product-based businesses, this is essential, especially for your first launch, or if you're testing out a new product, or if you're testing going into a different category and you don't know what demand is going to be. I always got my clients to do that. This is great because essentially for pre-sales, your customers prepay you. You can tell them, this is a product, this is what it's going to look like. We don't have any inventory right now, but as soon as you place your order, that is going to give us the capital, that is going to give us the money to go and place that order. And then telling customers that instead of getting your order right away, instead of getting it in like a couple weeks, you may have to wait a couple months for us to buy the materials, get the production going, and then ship it out to you. But if you set that expectation from the get-go and tell them, this is our first collection, you are helping us kickstart our brand, you can tell the story and you can just market it in a certain way and message it in a certain way. Like all my clients have been able to do that and pull it off. For you, for your sanity, this is going to be a game changer because you will actually know exactly how many people want your product. If only 5 people buy your pre-sales and it's like your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, and your friend, then you know that you're probably not onto something. None of these orders are from your ideal customer. It's all from your family and friends. And you cannot build a business just on support from your family and friends. You need to test it. This is a great way for you to do that with pre-sales. The benefit of doing that too is that you don't have to sink your own life savings into production to make 100 sweaters, 100 notebooks, or 100 matcha powders that, knock on wood, if it doesn't sell, you don't want your life savings to be stuck in these 100 t-shirts or 100 matcha powders. And then for the holidays and people's birthdays, you're just giving this for the rest of your life. That's just not the situation I want you to be in. This allows you to not be in that situation. The other benefit of pre-sales too is it's just better from a sustainability perspective. I hate to see unsold inventory not being used, collecting dust, because inevitably it's going to go to the landfill. Be strategic here and do a pre-sales to test that demand. The other thing you can do too, if you're a service-based business, is test a waitlist as well. As an example, with Built to Last, my high-touch one-on-one 6-month advisory service that I'm offering right now for conscious founders, I tested doing a waitlist first. I talked about the service, what I hope to do, and then saw if there was interest by getting people to sign up for this waitlist to hear more. If no one signed up for this waitlist, I'd be like, okay, it seems like no one wants this, so I'm not going to spend my time to do it. Because I did not want to make the same mistake as I did with all those different mini courses and sink 6 months of my life into something that people didn't want. That's why I did a waitlist. Definitely test out your demand with either pre-sales and or a waitlist to really ensure and solidify that you are on the right track. How you're going to make sure that you are creating products, services, and offers that people actually want, need, and will buy, and making sure on top of all of that, it is going to be profitable and worthwhile for you to do is to follow the 3 steps that I just talked about. Again, the first step is to validate your product by ensuring it's going to solve a pain point, a problem, or a challenge for your ideal customer. Next, you're going to be doing that through market research, through primary research, and secondary research. You're going to actually validate you can make this happen. Is this physically possible? Can you actually go ahead and make this? Is it financially possible? Is it going to make sense for you? Are you going to be able to make enough money to make it worth your while? Test all of that. Last but not least, test the demand one more time by doing a pre-sales and or a waitlist. This is going to take a lot of work. I would much rather you do this work up front to have an amazing product and service so that, again, like I talked about, it's so much easier for you to market and easier for you to run a business around a product and service that people love, that's unique, has a differentiating point. That's just so much of a funner business to run versus something that people don't really understand, people don't really want. Then your sales is so much of an uphill battle. Your marketing is so much of an uphill battle. It's just where you want to put in the work. Trust me, it's so much more strategic and beneficial for you as a founder to put in the work here. Spend the months and months required to fully validate your product, make sure that it's going to be really good, make sure it's viable, and then, of course, test the demand. I'm so excited to share these strategies and tips with you. I wish this is exactly what I had when I was first starting, and it has taken me half a decade to just get these and organize it in this manner. So that's my gift to you. I hope you enjoy it. Friendly reminder, if you want to go way deeper and just get my proven strategies and the resources and templates so that you can be well on your way to creating products that people actually want, actually need, and will actually buy, then check out the Sustain Your Products course. It will be linked for you down below. If you want help with your entire business ecosystem when it comes to your product, your sales, your marketing, and your launching, then you can check out the entire suite of courses, which is called Sustain Your Success. And when you get the entire suite, there's a lot of different perks, such as the bonus Sustain Your Mindset course, as well as 3 months of free access to my private community. So lots of perks, and you can check out everything at selenaho.com/SYS or click the link down below. I'm so excited to be able to potentially support you, and I will see you in the next episode.